Cool, then I'll just start the recording and then... So yeah, basically I've just got like a list of things and I'll slowly go through them, and while you're saying things, you may or may not be here go in the background as I write down something that sounds cool and I want to remember it before the conversation's over, in case I could bring it up again.
Okay.
Cool, so yeah, to start then, tell us who you are and the things you've made over the years then.
Okay, hello. I am Gwiz609, formerly known as the Gay Wizard, but I have rebranded, so to speak. Anyways,
a more socially aware name.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess I'll start with my first fan game project, which was I wanna be the Gay Wizard, which was actually the source for my name and not the other way.
Interesting.
Not the other way around. Yeah, I used to be called Shut Up Nerd before that, and then I just decided to change that up.
Yeah, people's usernames when they're younger are certainly very unique.
Yeah. Anyways, I joined the Yo Sniper contest. I had never ever made anything before that. That was like almost 10.5 years ago now. So I've been in it for like 10 years. Kind of crazy to think about. And yeah, I Wanna Be the Gay Wizard, which was, I don't think I made much for it, and that game never finished, and probably never will, unfortunately.
Yeah, that Gay Wizard was the origin of the Meteor cutscene that's used in Culture 2, right?
It was, yeah.
So
you can still download what's like an unfinished game, so you can get it if you want to, but it's never getting finished, I don't think.
Oh, where's it available?
I think in Delphi, right?
Okay, I wasn't sure if it would be put on Delphi or it's only on the Yo Sniper contest origin page or whatever.
Now that I updated it a couple times after the contest. Anyways,
okay.
So yeah, I sort of I remember people liking it, so I kind of I even got like 4th place in the contest. So I kind of just figured why not do more stuff, and that the same year I made what was it? I Wanna Deliver a Letter, which after that I sort of remade the game, and that became Christmas Deliveries. And then after Christmas Deliveries, I decided to join Yo Sniper contest again, 2016. I couldn't finish my game for that. And so that game, though, that I worked for Yo Sniper contest 2016, that I did not give up on, and that game is now what you know as I Wanna Eclipse.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that started as a Yo Sniper game as well.
Yeah, Yo Sniper is like responsible for a lot of my games.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. So, how did you find out about the Yo Sniper contest? Were you watching somebody stream and they talked about it, or just Fangame forums?
I think I used to just browse the Kane forums back then.
And Yo Sniper posted a thing there. And so, what made you decide to give it a shot on this contest specifically?
Okay, so I've always kind of wanted to start making games, and like I've tried it before getting to fan games. The thing is that I was like I always like gave up pretty early on, because like I didn't like particularly like coding. Like I just like the game maker shit with like the pre-made engine for like fan games made it so easy that I didn't have to worry about much when like making things. So it was actually fun to make stuff.
Oh, did you use a lot of the Dragon code then when you started out?
I think I sort of. Nah, I kind of made it like a goal of mine to like try to learn coding at the same time, which I then I know a bit of GML now, which I guess I could say that I've learned coding.
Yeah, I'd say you've done a pretty good job. I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of purposefully avoided drag and drop as much as I could from the beginning.
What, because it was another kind of thing to learn, or what reason for that?
I don't know. I guess, I just figured that it gave me more sort of liberties to work with if I just used code.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, there's definitely a few limitations if you do try to use drag and drop instead of writing everything yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you said it like Deliver a Letter got an update, and I mean we know there's kind of like a second game tacked onto that. So what made you like decide to update the first game with the second half instead of just, kind of just saying Deliver a Letter 2 or whatever?
That is a good question. I guess I just wasn't really happy with it. Like, that was my only game back at the time that I had finished, and so I guess I just kind of looked at it and decided, maybe I should have something a little more something. I don't know.
No, yeah, I get where you're going for that. Yeah, you wanted it to be a bit more substantial and like fix all the problems you'd noticed after people had spoken about it and played it.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of just like some of the ideas that I had in that game, and I just wanted to execute them better or something. It's honestly, I don't remember the reason. I guess I just kind of started working on it someday.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that's how a lot of things start, isn't it? You just have an idea of, I want this to be done. Whatever reason, sometimes you just feel that way, and then it gets done.
Yeah.
So...
But,
oh yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, other than those games, there's only one more game that I have made, which is Christmas Deliveries 2. That was like sort of like I think it was like a month before Christmas. I just suddenly got the flame of creation just burst inside of me, and I decided to make that. Which, it's a cool game. It's a little short and maybe nothing spectacular, but I think it's a cool game. It has cool ideas and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all of my solo projects anyway. Of course, I have worked on Cultured 2, the collab games, a lot of the marathon games. Yeah, I think I've been in like the majority of them. I made a stage in like maybe like 6 of them at this point.
Oh jeez, okay.
And then I did some work for CN 2.5.
Well, it feels like half the community's got some hand in CN 2.5 with how big that is.
Yeah. But I did something other than just guest stages.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely quite the resume there that you've got over the years.
Yeah, I guess.
It's definitely crazy to think about how long things have been going on for. I do agree with that. The idea that I started back in 2016-ish, I want to say. Like, I've not been around as long as you have.
Well, I mean, pretty close.
Yeah. But yeah, to go back to the questions then. So, you said that you also did these two kind of link together a little bit. You said you did game making before Fangames as well. So, what actually like inspired you to start trying to make games in the first place, and what sort of stuff did you work with and do?
Okay, so that has been my sort of ambition my whole life. That's like always the thing that I wanted to do, or has always been the thing that I want to do.
Well, you woke up one day, like 3-year-old Gwiz, lying in his bed thinking, I'm gonna make video games!
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, it's definitely been there, like, way before I actually started making games. And, like, yeah, I made some, like, attempts, like, I downloaded some, like, I watched tutorials online on how to do that, but it's just never, like, stuck with me until, like, Fangames.
Okay, gotcha. So, what sort of, like, programs were you trying to use? Was it, like, some of the... well, I don't really know what programs there were, actually. Sorry, you can tell me.
I think BASIC was the first language that I tried when I was, like, 14, and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand why it might have been a struggle now.
Yeah, and then just regular C++. I just tried to start from the ground up and never got anywhere with that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Real languages do take a bit of effort to get into.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've started with Game Maker, you've done a few games over the years. So when you are starting a game, like, what normally helps you decide on what you want to make?
Like what kind of?
So as in like maybe not specifically genre, but just like, so you want to make an adventure game and you've thought, okay, this is going to be a thing where you're going through a world and then you fight a wizard and then there's a sewer stage and I don't know, and then like, for example, in Deliver a Letter, you didn't just end it at the thing, you made the kid go all the way to Santa and all these things on the way to there. So like, what helps you like figure out where you're going with the game?
I just, I guess, you know, I just spend a lot of time thinking about it, like what would be good in this, at this part, and like what would make sense. And then sometimes it's just, you know, spend enough time thinking about it, and then it just hits, and you know, this would be good. I think the last time that I started working on something, it's like I just had an idea for a stage, and for one stage only, and the rest came to me like during like the making of the thing, you know.
Interesting. So what sort of things like help you make the first stage in the first place? Is it like you're just lying around and it just pops into your head, or you're, I don't know, walking outside and you see something interesting and that's what gives you an idea, or I don't know, some other option?
Okay, one big thing is like if I hear a song that it's a lot of times it's music that inspires me. Like I want to use this music in a stage that has this and this happening.
Interesting. Okay, and then you try to interpret the song into the stage, and then I guess you just keep building from there. So like that's the origin point. Like, say, I assume the song for the robot in Eclipse was like a pretty big inspirational point for you.
It might have been, yeah. I'm not sure if I, but like, hang on, let me think of an example where I'm like sure that like a song inspired something. All right.
Yeah, thinking is hard. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it is. Like trying to think of something on the spot, you know, never goes well.
Yeah, I know for myself, there's definitely been a bunch of songs that I've heard, and I just write down the ideas as I'm listening to it because it just comes to you in the moment.
I mean, it's not a difficult concept to grasp. Like just think of avoidances. Like how, like I think like I don't think like I think like probably like 99% of them are like formed from the song. Like someone goes like, "Oh, I want to make an avoidance of this song." Like I don't think someone just goes, the game maker makes a bunch of attacks and it's like, okay, I need to find a song for this avoidance today.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think you're probably right on that one. I don't think it happens much the other way around.
Yeah, it's not like when I come up with an idea for a stage, it's definitely not always music first, but sometimes it definitely is.
Okay, so to continue from the inspiration side then, so what sort of like games then like have inspired you? Because obviously like music's one way of getting into an idea of trying to figure things out, but like generally when people are making things, it's based on the knowledge of other things they've had. Like, so what sort of like fan games or otherwise, like this could be like real games as well, like I don't know, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, Vampire Survivors, so on. Like, what sort of games do you think have affected your game design process?
Well, yeah, definitely when it comes to like visuals and stuff, it's probably like Hollow Knight, 100%. Like mostly Hollow Knight that's inspired my like visual style. When it comes to like gameplay, it's like I mean, usually I try to come up with like my own ideas for gimmicks and stuff, but like I think like the sort of puzzly platforming of Kill the Guy has definitely been like a big inspiration. And honestly, like I'm like starting to embrace like a lot of like the Wolfie standards for like when I make like platforming, like wall hugs and stuff. And he's like kind of cool placement of spikes where he like puts like sideways spikes on top of blocks and stuff like that. And like, of course, Christmas Deliveries is very much like I think anyone could tell is very much inspired by Nang, like gimmick needle stages.
I actually wasn't aware of that. Like, I thought it was a pretty cool game, but I never really thought of associating it with something else, because it very much always seemed like its own thing, which is cool to me.
Okay, well that's good, but like from my own perspective, like Nang was definitely a big inspiration for that.
So, yeah.
And for like Eclipse, maybe I probably took a lot from like I Don't Want to Be Anything, like the sort of.
Oh,
like,
interesting. Oh, what was it?
Just always been like the adventure game for me. Like that's, just feels like an adventure.
So what, specifically because it feels like a big world, I guess, type of thing, as opposed to the fact that like the Metroidvania and the enemies or something?
No, I'm talking about I Don't Want to Be Anything 1, which is...
Oh, like, 1. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no worries.
Gotcha, interesting. Yeah, like with the 4 areas and the hubs and stuff like that. So what was it, just because like the many different worlds type of thing? Was that what it was from DWBA 1 that was so inspiring?
I don't know, it's just like out of like all the fan games that I can think of, just like it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It's maybe like a subconscious thing, but like felt like I was adventuring when I played that game. Like, okay, it's one of the early ones that I played, so maybe that's also why.
Yeah, that always helps.
Part in like shaping what fan games are to me.
And what was it about Kill the Guy that seemed like such a big deal then? Like, were you around on the first release, or because I don't know
No. I wasn't, but it was one of the first ones too that I played. But like, I think like in Kill the Guy, like it's the platforming is like sort of puzzly, but not like in a way where it's like a full-on puzzle game.
Yeah.
That always like felt like it just felt good. I don't know. And it's like maybe I think yeah, that's probably where I definitely have drawn inspiration from that as well.
Oh, what sort of like semi-puzzly platforming do you think you've made based off of that then? Like, where's the inspiration led?
Just think of my stage in 7 aspects where like it was a little confusing for sure, but that's like probably the extreme. Like I do tend to like want to make a little I guess I'd like try to make like put like little puzzle elements in whatever I make. Sometimes it's a little too much, I think. Like, yeah, it's hard to like, because like of course whatever I make makes sense to me. I also kind of gotta figure out like make it make sense to others too.
Yeah, trying to explain yourself for other people is definitely a easier said than done task. It isn't just like, so what inspires you? Like, oh well, you get the thing, you stick it on the screen and it's good. Like, okay, cool, great. That's
Yeah.
But yeah, when you know how things work, you know how it works. But yeah, trying to describe it to others is always a easier said than done task.
Yeah.
Which is the point of an interview, to try to help you try to find the words.
Yeah.
So, let's see, next things on the list that we got here. So, like, those are the games that inspire. So, yeah, Hollow Knight, for example, you said that, like, the visual styles... I mean, I think a lot of people can see the similarities, especially now that you've mentioned it. Like, that's a very big ask to go from regular Fangame art style over to, like, Hollow Knight. So, like, how exactly did you start that sort of a transition? Because that sounds like a huge task to me.
Well, the thing is, for whenever I like draw stuff, I just tend to like try to. I just fiddle around with it till it looks good to me, and like. Well, I guess I should say that like ever since the time that I started making fan games, I've like almost always gone for my own visuals rather than like taking them from elsewhere. Like this has also like been like the same thing that I had with coding, because I wanted to learn coding. I also wanted to learn like graphics. So I from day one I've pretty much drawn everything myself. But yeah, it's just something you just get better at. Like whenever I draw stuff, I just draw until it looks good to me, and like every like once in a while I notice that I've gotten a little better. And so even if I can't quite reach like Hollow Knight levels of visuals now, probably won't.
I mean, that is a tall ask.
Yeah, I probably can't, and maybe I never will. But like, I'm still like taking steps towards that every time I make something.
So when you started off, like, to help people that are like starting out with game making sort of a thing, like myself, I'm not particularly proficient on the artistic side of things. So like, are there programs you'd recommend to start with trying to art, and like, what sort of things do you recommend when people start trying to draw?
Well, I have good news. The only thing you need, if you want to do whatever I do, all you need is Paint or the GameMaker image editor.
Is what, just Microsoft Paint?
Yeah,
nice.
That's all you need.
So you just did everything in Paint and GameMaker originally?
Still do.
Oh, you still do? Oh, okay, damn. So what, like, how did you start? Do you just like... Sorry, I'm trying to like think of how to phrase the question here. Like, you've started drawing in Paint and GameMaker, and then how do you decide that the art that you've drawn is good and you don't want to add something more onto it or something, I guess?
Well, usually when it just looks good to me. That's when I stop. When I'm finished with a picture or like an animation when it looks good to me, pretty much.
Yeah.
And like, that's all there is.
Yeah, no, I know. I realised the flaw with the question after I said it. I struggled a bit with the phrasing there. That's entirely fine. So, how long exactly have you been doing your own art and trying to be doing it for? Since Deliver a Letter then? Like 10 years or?
No, since my first Yo Sniper contest game, I want to be the gay wizard.
Oh, it really was since the beginning then?
Yeah, I think I can't really think of anything except like the Ryu trap or like, well, probably like, yeah, some other sprites like the Doug Trio trap that is not something that I drew myself.
Interesting, okay. Because yeah, like, your art is obviously like a very notable part of your games, especially by today. Eclipse is incredibly impressive in many ways, I'm sure.
Thank you.
So, how do I think about it? So, like, I can't think of too much to ask about the art side, because it is really just like, how do you draw? I draw, you know, what I like drawing. That is how it is. I feel like there's got to be something I'm missing to say in that.
Okay, I guess I should mention that the thing that probably like it is something that's advantageous to me is like I do think I'm pretty good at using colors. Like that is like I think the key to making something look good is like knowing how to use colors well.
What do you mean? Like how they compare to each other, or?
Yeah, like the contrast between colors and like how much there should be, or like what different colors should be used. Where do you place like a lighter color? Where do you place like a darker color? That sort of stuff is something you should figure out if you want to get like make drawings look.
So do you do a lot of like using a certain color to like highlight a certain part of an object? Do you do that a lot then?
Yeah, certainly. Like the thing that makes like sort of a tile look like a tile is like something that's like real and like an actual block, I think is shading. Like if you have like a brown square, and then you place like a line at the top that is like a lighter shade of brown, suddenly it looks like it has depth, you know. It's all it takes in like if you want to make like a really simple tile, you know.
Oh, okay. No, I see. I'll try to keep that in mind myself as well, because yeah, like I said, art is certainly not one of my strong points, as you'll probably have noticed from 7 Aspects too.
Yeah.
So to go back to the 7 Aspects thing though, so what gave you the ideas going into that stage? Because obviously all we knew going into 7 Aspects was like, make a collab stage, do literally anything, because ours gave us free reign on what we could make. So you had this idea of like going through a castle, I guess, and you had this like really interesting screen wrap idea.
Okay, so that idea, like Plasma was making the thing at ESA, where like everyone thinks of a gimmick, Plasma codes it, and then we make a screen with it. So I had that idea at ESA, and then said to Plasma that, okay, this is my idea, and then it ended up being a little too complicated for the time that we had. And then my gimmick at the ESA collab just ended up just being input delay, a second of it. But yeah, that idea still stuck with me, and that's what ended up happening with 7 Aspects.
Gotcha, interesting. And then yeah, you got the screen wrap for the second half as well. And is there a reason for, like, specifically a goblin-looking character for the boss? Because in a certain Discord of ours, I know you're particularly fond of goblins.
Yeah, just like goblins.
Just like goblins. There's no, like, Finnish history going on there for the reasoning?
No, they're just funny creatures.
Yeah, fair enough. That seems more than reasonable. I can't blame anybody for liking something. So, I mean, getting near the end of the list of questions that I've written down already, so the next one I've got here is, because you said yourself that you were struggling to start with, like, doing coding things. You tried Basic and C++ first before moving on with GameMaker. So, when you started with GameMaker, you mentioned it a bit before, but like, what exactly was it that like appealed about using that to you?
The simple fact that I just could do it. I could just place down objects and write down a couple lines of code and make like some obstacle that was kind of fun to, you know, traverse.
So you just found it a lot simpler to start it with? Because like, what do you mean by like you could just place down objects? Do you mean you just took the objects that were already in the edge and just put them in a room and just played around with that? Or do you actually mean like you tried making your own things first?
No, I started really small. Like, I think the first like sort of object that I made was like a spiky block that moved up and down.
Gotcha, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I could never have written an engine with that knowledge that I had back then. It's just the fact, I guess, that I had an engine to work with.
Yeah, so how did you normally try, like, figure out how to make something work? So, for example, you just said that, like, you made a spiky block and it moves up and down. So, like, how did you normally try to figure out the way to get that to happen?
Well, there were a lot of objects in the engine that I could, like the bouncy cherry object that I could, like, take reference from.
Gotcha, so you looked at the other stuff that was already there and then tried to reuse that?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, what about when you tried to, like, start making things a little bit more original? Because, like, by the time of Eclipse, you've got things like a spike on one side and a platform on another, and many things that you've got there, like the screen wrapping again. So, like, how did you eventually manage to move on from, like, the in-game stuff to stuff that you're making yourself?
So I've always been, like, very persistent when it comes to, like, I have an idea for, like, an object or, like, a thing that I want to make. I've always, like, sometimes through, like, some stupid hoops, like I've sort of always managed to like get there. So I was always really persistent on if I wanted to get something to work, then I always like would. And like the ways how I get there have always been, or like not always, like from the start they were like very unconventional sort of ways. Let me try to think of an example. So I would have like sort of like text that, you know, scrolls.
Yeah.
Like the Klango thing in I Want to Be the Gay Wizard. So instead of using like draw text or shit like that, I would have a GIF file that had like as many sub-images as there were like, you know, letters in that and stuff like that. So I just always,
God.
like, I could always like figure out some way to do it, and I guess as time went on, I got better at like sort of taking the easy way there.
Yeah, it's funny to learn that like everyone kind of starts in the same way of having the 1,000 image objects just to make text move to the left.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's just something, you know. Of course, if you do something a lot, you definitely tend to get better at the thing you do.
Yeah, like small little bits of improvement over time. There's no like sudden leap of, oh, I understand the game maker now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like been like sort of those eureka moments in the way, but like, yeah, it's a slow progress.
Yeah, no, that's fair, that's fair. Trying to think, like, only real thing I think I've got written down now are, like, if you have any methods that you can think of that are, like, good for people starting out to try to learn things, because obviously things are a little bit different now. We've got a lot more methods of communication and a lot more, like, teaching tools, so if there's anything you can think of that will, like, help people starting out to try to learn for themselves, or if you just think just go into an engine and start playing around and see what happens and don't worry about it.
I mean, that's the way I started. I think what the issue with like for like people who are newer to this stuff than I am would probably be just the fact that even like in this like community, like people are very, very, very like good at game maker these days. So you've got like, if you're new, you've got a lot of catching up to do. Back when I started, like the standards definitely weren't so high as they are now. So I don't know. Just I guess my advice is that Rome wasn't built in a day, so you gotta have a bit of patience when you start like making stuff. You're not gonna make your dream game right off the bat, I don't think. So you just like if you like game making, then I'd recommend just do it for fun, as long as you want to. And if you want to get serious about it, then you probably need a lot of experience. That's been my takeaway from all this 10 years that I've worked on Game Maker for.
Yeah, I think another point that's also worth noting is, like you said, like, despite there being a lot of people that are very good at Game Maker, making a good game is not reliant on being good at Game Maker, as
That's
I think
true,
we've seen a few times over the years.
Yeah, that is true. Like, it helps if you're good at Game Maker, but if you have like you can definitely like have good stuff even if you're like not experienced. Like you could say like even like a game that has just spikes and blocks and it can be really good. Like depending on if you like Needle, then definitely that is the case. So,
Yeah, Needle makes game making very simple.
but I just want to say, maybe try like making something other than that it's like it's fine to use blocks and spike. It makes for a good platforming, but it's probably like not a good idea to just stay with within those limits, because then you just develop the skill to making needle, which is fine if that's all you want. But if you want more, then you should probably like try coming up with like a fun gimmick or something. I don't know.
Yeah, just try messing around with code and seeing what happens.
Yeah. Like that opens up a lot of options for you, which is never a bad thing, I don't think.
Oh, cool. That sounds good. Yeah. That's definitely all the main questions I've got written down then. So before we finish, one final question, which you can answer in like as much or as little detail as you like. So are there any projects that you're currently working on at the moment?
Right. I was working on something, lately, but I'm not working on it anymore. So the thing with that is that I have just finished working on the thing.
Oh, so you've... Okay, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. You could say Christmas came early this year. So this is not true for you now, because you're hearing this a week before anyone else here will. But I have just released Christmas Deliveries 3 on my Twitter, so you should check that out.
Well, that is very interesting news that I was not expecting. Okay.
I don't think anyone else was either, because I haven't really told anyone except a couple of people.
I was going to make a joke of like, when you said Christmas came early, I was thinking, is this going to be like Christmas Deliveries 2, where the kid meets Santa and said, it's February, lol? And apparently that is true. That wasn't even a joke. That was just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well,
unfortunately for you now, you can't play.
Yeah, I've just got to sit here and wait for it. Damn, that's going to be interesting.
I mean, you and me both. You're not alone with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you're spamming a link in chat as we go. Okay, well.
Link will be in the description below.
Oh my god, what a way to end an interview. Well, thank you very much for your time, Gwiz609. I hope that people found this interview interesting.
I hope so too. And anyways, yeah, you should check the game out. I think you will maybe like it. I don't know. Anyway, it's out.
Yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope some people found this interesting or useful. And feel free to look for next year when maybe we'll have this again. See you next time.
All right.